Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Brad Chase, welcome to the Blockchain Show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Definitely excited to learn about what you're working on. Maybe before we get into that, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself a little bit to the audience and telling us how you got involved with blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Brad Chase. I head up our liquidity products at Ripple. I've been here at Ripple now for about 6.5, almost 7 years. I started out in our contributing to the XRP ledger, part of the Ripple D team, working on the consensus protocol, some contributions, some simulations. Actually had an opportunity to co-author a paper about some theoretical properties of the XRP ledger consensus protocol. Then moved closer to some of our enterprise business. So that's what Ripple's all about, bringing enterprise blockchain solutions to companies, and worked on our data team, helping stand up that project and process. And then maybe the last 2.5, 3 years, I've been working on our machine learning teams that are kind of bring consistency and resiliency to how we provide crypto liquidity on behalf of our customers. And then also part of the team that launched a new product called Liquidity Hub, that offers kind of crypto first, buy, sell capabilities to businesses that need to use crypto as part of their flows.
Yeah, that's excellent. Definitely interested to expand a little bit on the role of Head of Liquidity Products at Ripple, kind of how it relates to the development of crypto liquidity solutions. But for anybody listening who doesn't even know what liquidity means, maybe we could get really basic for a minute and then kind of go from there, if you don't mind.
Yep, great question. So liquidity is really writ large, even independent of crypto, like the ability to kind of transact in some asset kind of at the time you need it at the best cost possible, conveniently. So it's kind of that access and ability to trade really, or to tap into resources. So for Ripple and the type of problems we solve for our customers, kind of really come out of a cross-border payments use case. So our flagship product today is something called on-demand liquidity, which is a cross-border payments product. And to send a cross-border payment, that's kind of involving fiat on both ends. We bridge that through a digital asset as a bridge currency. In order for that payment to work, you need to be able to trade between, say, a crypto asset like XRP and a fiat currency on each part of that transaction. And the availability of that liquidity, how much is around, how much, what are the prices that are available is key to the capability of that functioning for a product. And so, it comes from traditional finance as well. Anytime you're trading, you need to be able to tap into that. And part of, what we've invested a lot in and what's been important for crypto to keep growing is as a newer kind of emerging technology and set of assets, there's not as much liquidity today. So how do you build out a reliable product experience for a customer that requires this ability to move in and out of both fiat and crypto in an on-demand nature? And so that's led my road in this journey to this role I have at Ripple. That's been a key part of what we've needed to build for our customers' cross-border needs.
Excellent. Thank you for that explanation. Something that's been kind of a little bit less in the forefront is in the news cycle is AI and machine learning, but definitely something that is super relevant still, in my opinion. Kind of wanted to get your take on, how you foresee AI and machine learning impacting the crypto industry as a whole, and what potential benefits or challenges do you anticipate as that relates to your work?
So a couple of different ways I can slice this one. So certainly we've started using and have been using AI and machine learning in these products I talked about in our cross-border payment product. I can talk a little bit about how that relates to kind of giving consistency around how we provide liquidity. And then maybe secondarily, I think we're in that moment of AI now where there's LLMs and ChatGPT and all those things that are kind of just coming to the fore. So I think there's also an interesting angle around how we think about that kind of both powering some of our products, but then the flip side, like what blockchain can actually do to enable further adoption of that technology. So for the former, how we think about and how we're already using AI and ML in our services. So this cross-border payments product, on-demand liquidity, we've done, something like almost $30 billion in volume since the beginning, about 20 million transactions. And not surprisingly, you need to automate that. That's a thing that can't just be a human on the other side of each of these transactions. But part of what makes automation challenging in this context, which is that some of the decisions that need to get made are not deterministic. So there's some elements of volatility that comes into play. There's some degree of forecasting needed. And when you're faced with these type of problems where you're trying to deliver that kind of consistent, excellent customer experience at scale, but it requires solving these dynamic problems kind of in real time, that's where ML comes into play. And so our strategy there is about taking problems like this around, giving consistent pricing to customers where they know they just accept that quote, it's going to be the best quote, and they're going to have that payment go through. Under a hood, what does that mean? Effectively, it's almost like a mini logistics system where we have systems that forecast customer demand and ML models that are forecasting the supply in the market. Those get planned out and kind of we set up internally how we kind of facilitate that payment. And then we have systems that have to handle exceptions on the other side. And so there's just kind of that standard recipe, if you will, that I experienced in prior work when I was in a high frequency trading space where when you're facing these dynamic, random, quasi-stochastic challenges, but wanting to deliver that consistency, this is how you tackle it. Specific example for our customers in cross-border payments. We've started with more remittance customers who like to send smaller value, more frequent payments, but have moved on to other more treasury customers. So you're a customer or company that wants to send a large cross-border trade. It may be too much for the available liquidity in the market today. So what we were talking about earlier, like how much is really able to absorb and people to be on the other side to facilitate your trade. So you intelligently want to break that up into smaller type of trades. But to do that well, you need to understand and forecast what other customers are going to be coming in, their needs, what the dynamics of the markets will be that can react and respond. And so we've developed kind of that scheduling technology that takes in those forecasts and figures out how to kind of, so the customer doesn't really have to think about it, but on the back end, we're busy developing that for them. And so that's the kind of that first segment of like how we use ML today. So a little bit of traditional financial strategies, but now applying it to blockchain. I think the other part of AI and ML that's kind of this kind of current cycle with ChatGPT and these large language models, just like kind of almost came out of nowhere, but like there were seeds to it coming, but like just kind of beyond what anybody may have expected in terms of how capable they are, how interactive they can be, and the types of natural language problems they can solve. That's the strength though that I've seen is kind of this natural language processing where it's text-based interaction. So there's an element of that where those are tools that you can use as software developers, product managers to help you do your job every day. Within the crypto space and how I think we're considering at Ripple, there's areas around maybe compliance or identity where that's a natural element of, language is a key part of how you assess if somebody's a bad actor or not, or the types of interactions that they're having with you. But I think for me, maybe what's most exciting is the reverse, which is how can blockchain actually help these technologies get adopted more? I'm not going to get down the road of is ChatGPT, AGI or kind of thinking or not, but you do see these cases where chatbots, things that can autonomously interact with the customer, make decisions, are kind of a lot of what the excitement is at. So you go into some website and customer support, it doesn't have to be a person, it can be an interactive agent. But if that interactive agent needs to move funds on your behalf or kind of demonstrate that the decisions they've made are traceable back to what you've done, elements of blockchain technology can help do that. And so I think as, both of these technologies, as new technologies are kind of going through this, what's useful, what's not useful, how do we make it acceptable? I think that's a cool area that we'll see convergence here where they kind of both help each other.
Yeah, kind of going off topic here. In the last year and a half, it seems like mass opinion of cryptocurrency has not been as favorable. Have you noticed that? I do with some friends and family, and the tendencies to get kind of caught up on the price and, whether it's a bear or bull market. And it's kind of difficult to have the conversations about just how useful and potentially transformative the technology can be. Yeah, sorry, it's an odd question, but I don't know if you could comment on that for anyone listening who's afraid to talk about crypto with friends and family.
It's one case where I've been at Ripple, as I said, almost 7 years. Ripple's been around for 10 years. So I'm sure some of your listeners have been in the space for a while too, but like there's like anything else, there's ebbs and flows. There's times where it's bullish and everybody's like super into crypto. There's times now where it's a bit of this winter where people individually are leaning out. We've seen some companies in the space are not here anymore. I also think I guess I've got that long-term view is how I tend to view technology, where we typically overestimate what it's going to do in the short term and underestimate what it's doing in the long term. And so at Ripple, at least, we've continually focused on this utility case. So like really super investing in this cross-border payments case where, yeah, crypto is a key part of what makes it a powerful on-demand product that's kind of always on everywhere, instant and all the instant settlement that's hard to do. But it's not just crypto for crypto's sake. It's like, oh, it's actually hard to move money across borders. And so that, it may not be a thing that maybe since we work with enterprises that an individual consumer would necessarily be thinking about if they're sending money cross-border through their bank or through one of the payment service providers that we might partner with. But kind of that plumbing layer on the bottom is where we're seeing a lot of traction, a lot of excitement, and still a lot of opportunity. And so even though kind of maybe the public discussion and maybe the public sentiment is a little bit off the mark, our positive view to this is we still see these use cases emerging. If anything, we see kind of some of the noise has gone away, where like those are the things that people are now actually, okay, yeah, we got to actually go focus on this building aspect here, and we can't get caught up with the latest price or the latest whatever. And so, it's frustrating that might be for the consumer in the space and things aren't as friendly for them yet or as ubiquitous for them yet. I think this type of moment is what like makes you look in the mirror and be like, okay, yeah, actually, these are the things that are still true. These are the things that we can still go work on year over year. And, we work on that. And then we're around for then the next cycle.
I really like that answer. I was wondering if you could maybe expand or share any insights or updates on Ripple's Liquidity Hub, its purpose in helping business source crypto liquidity on demand, and just kind of how that works through smart order routing.
I think I'll tell you a little bit about how we ended up launching Liquidity Hub, actually, because I think that's part of the story, and I can tell a little more about where we're at right now. So again, I've been talking a lot about this cross-border payments product. It's where we started as a company and that first use case for crypto that we found. But as part of that, we were one of the first companies that was building a crypto product as well, right? So, in the same way that, startups today now can go to Amazon and spin up all the different servers and tools that they need to start their business, there isn't quite the same thing for crypto. You want to go start a business that involves crypto, there's not like these, turnkey solutions that you plug in as part of what you're building. And so in building the cross-border payments product, we had to solve this liquidity challenge. So we had to build a trading system, order management, market data, transfer and settlement systems. And so once we've kind of had that internally, we realized, okay, like other companies needed it that are building on top of crypto need that same capability. Otherwise, they're going to have to reinvent the same wheel that we've done. So Liquidity Hub is really trying to step back and kind of repackage or kind of have a more directed API offering that's just for that part of the stack. You're just thinking about crypto and managing and you're trading or moving it, and you're not as much into the cross-border spot itself. How can we solve that problem for you? And so that's what the team has been working on. What we've had in market to date is companies like, say, crypto payment service provider. So you're trying to enable a merchant to accept Bitcoin at point of sale terminals, and that merchant wants cash. Somebody's got to do that transfer from Bitcoin to dollars or Bitcoin to euros or whatever. We can take on that part, getting you that liquidity, giving you great pricing, kind of giving that ins and outs. And so that's what Liquidity Hub's been built to solve. What we've been doing kind of more recently is kind of, started in the US, now looking overseas, places like Brazil and Australia, adding on those convenience features for, better UIs for how, end users at the companies trade. Things like post-trade settlement. So if you're that merchant, do you need to actually send the Bitcoin ahead of time and wait for confirmations, or can you actually send it afterwards and we lock in a good price for you and let you settle at the end of the day? So we're still early in that journey. We've got our customers and learning a lot, but that's kind of that angle that we take at Ripple in particular quite a bit, is like finding the places where Ripple's had to go build some things to launch a crypto product and now start to feed backward to be like, okay, what can we pull out as a standalone offering or capability that other companies that are building crypto products will need, so they can focus on the specific problem that they're solving versus maybe this undifferentiated, I need liquidity for crypto that we can solve for them.
Wow, it's impressive, man. I'm thinking about, we were talking about cross-border payments and just, how that works with different governments and regulatory agencies. So I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing, how does Ripple navigate the evolving regulatory landscape, to ensure compliance and, make sure its customers get what they need at the same time?
It's a large part of what we do and spend a lot of time on. Maybe, again, one of the differentiators in how we've approached this since the beginning is really trying to work with regulators, really focusing on what compliance needs are. Just to your point, like as an enterprise, as a customer that's a bank or a customer that's a regulated financial institution, there's a whole set of those things that they need to do. Unfortunately, it's patchwork. It's not, each country is a bit different. And so what we've done is, we've invested, at least for Liquidity Hub, we're kind of methodically going through, started with US, going to other markets and understanding what's needed and trying to distill out what's unique and then kind of dealing with what's different as we learn in each country. I'd say kind of a foundational element though for everything is that we keep the highest standards there. Like that's a thing that you can't mess up. I think unfortunately we've seen, the past year and a half, part of why we've had this downturn is in the interest of, for whatever reasons, some folks in the space haven't taken that seriously. And so, yeah, I think it's just a thing that is important and it's needed to invest in. I think there's room for innovation there too, where there isn't a standard, there isn't kind of a standardized identity way that you can communicate identity, a standardized compliance strategy that can work. But that's what blockchain's good at, right? So part of the reason that Bitcoin works is there was no standard, bank for the world. This is a counterparty way where you can transact with other people. So things like, decentralized identifiers, zero knowledge proofs offer a way to start to assemble that. But I think we're very early in that technology. So we've been focusing on getting to market and then figuring out how we can bring the blockchain technology for those layers of compliance.
Yeah, again, it's impressive. You can only imagine the amount of work that goes into that. Yeah, I was wondering if you had any insight into some of the key business trends or market factors that are currently driving Ripple's choices and shaping its kind of strategic direction. Comment on that.
So a couple come to mind. So one, we've seen, especially around Liquidity, have more and more institutional interest. So, I think that's what you're coming back to your comments earlier, where maybe the consumer space is a little bit kind of not sure. I think we've seen institutionally and also particularly institutions internationally very interested in this technology of digital assets and blockchain and figuring out how to use it well. And so that's, again, what Ripple's always been kind of partnering and working with. And I think we're kind of, continuing to lean on that as much as we can. I think the other case that we're seeing with that interest comes this challenge around usability still, where blockchain and digital asset technologies are still kind of built for builders, where if you're a technologist, you can kind of use it. But if you're a bank that needs to worry about governance and all the different protocols to, say, manage custody, that's, a thing to figure out doing well. So recently, Ripple acquired a company called Medico, which is a fantastic custodian. And that need has led to us investing in that company, where we've seen being able to offer not just the tech, but all of the things that go around it to work in a regulated financial space are really key. And making that usable is just a hard problem that, I think we're part of a team that now has a great play there and a way to do it. But I think, usability goes with that enterprise adoption. And maybe the third thing would be, again, since we're early in this space, there's interoperability is key, where, it's too soon to bet on one horse, if you will, but interoperability and as an enterprise, like being able to interact with multiple different types of tokens as we tokenize real world assets, like say mortgages or other things. Like, how do we just make sure we don't get a bunch of walled gardens, but we really get the benefit of this technology? And for us, Liquidity Hub is part of that play. One way in which you can interoperate is trade between assets. And so part of Liquidity Hub is part of enabling that way to move value between chains and really towards that internet of value vision that kind of what started Ripple. So starting to see those resonate in the institutional case and in the institutional customer space, but still needing kind of that, layer of usability and interoperability to continue to grow and deliver.
Just to follow up a little bit on that, as institutional adoption of cryptocurrencies grows, are there any other challenges or potentially opportunities yet to be discovered that Ripple is encountering in that space?
So one was kind of this custody angle and how we and customers can safely, securely store their assets, but manage it in a compliant way. So again, that's this kind of Medico who joined Ripple recently that we believe is key. I think another area for me that's still underdeveloped that we talked about already was that compliance angle. So how do you really manage identity, especially in a multi-chain world that's interoperable? How do you really prove ownership? How do you do KYC and KYB? How do you do that in a way that still respects the privacy of the parties transacting together? It's an area where we're still thinking a lot, hard about at Ripple and how we do it well. I'd say that's the key, like one specific area that I'm also just personally excited to figure out and be part of making that work for customers. I'd say the other angle, though, is as Ripple thinks about it, like what are those key primitives that you need to run a business that's built on crypto? So there's on and off ramps, there's liquidity, there's identity, there's custody, there may be compliance. So figuring out what all those things are and how to do them well is another way. So kind of the AWS for crypto type analogy of both what are the businesses and what are the primitives to power those businesses, so that there is this way that businesses that are built on crypto can operate. I'd liken it to, back in the 90s, there's a time where you were an internet company and you had to figure out how to run on the internet. Like nobody calls themselves an internet company anymore. You're just a company that runs on the internet. And I think getting to that journey and that point in crypto is part of where we need to go. And it comes back to these primitives that I mentioned that Ripple is looking to have a strategy across each.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and it kind of brings some things to mind. Like as we see more countries heading towards whether it's crypto in El Salvador or China and a few other countries, like kind of a central bank digital currency. It really makes me wonder what's going to happen in the U.S. And then I think back, a lot of industries, there's not really one federal authority. We have so many different companies providing services. And in America, you have a lot of choice in it. I just had the thought, maybe we already have, we have Ripple. We have there's so many choices that at people's fingertips. I don't think we necessarily need a central bank digital currency here. I don't know. If you'd like to comment on that.
So a couple thoughts. So the one, Ripple does have a CBDC program. So we work with a couple countries on either pilots or whatnot. So Royal Monetary Authority of Bhutan is one of our early, customers or countries we work with. The way I think about it is, I agree with you. Like I think it's this multi-chain sense. Like there will be countries that want to have a central bank digital currency. They will want that. It'll be important for how they manage their systems and for how their economy works. I think what we're excited about, and we see the technology benefit is like, there's that spectrum that blockchain enables. Like you can have a centralized digital currency at a central bank. Great. It can use the same type of technology to interoperate with a completely counterparty free asset. There can be things in the middle that are tokenized real world assets where like it's the stock that's actually reflected in owned by somebody, but they're reflecting it onto the chain. And so I agree, like your point is like, I think the nice thing about blockchain is it enables all those future worlds where it's not blockchain that's dictating the right mix of how much is a central bank currency versus not versus others. It's actually the dynamics and needs of the people that are part of the system. It's kind of like blockchain gives you that choice. And then the interoperability makes it so that you have and can use the right token or asset for the right application.
Yeah, I really like that. That really frames things in a way that makes sense. As we talk more about the future, I was wondering if there's any upcoming announcements or developments from Ripple that you can provide a glimpse into, particularly in relation to liquidity products or really anything you'd like to share.
Yeah, so it's not like a specific feature or product launch. I think maybe the fun thing for me that we're working on and building towards is like how these two products that we have today, Liquidity Hub and our cross-border payments product, on-demand liquidity, start to kind of combine and like support each other in the sense where that ideal world where you can send value to anybody delivered in whatever token or currency they want and pay for it on the front end, whatever other token or currency you want, have that settling instantly and globally. That's, the exciting internet value vision that Ripple was founded to go deliver. And we're starting to have those pieces where, we have that kind of, global fiat network with on-demand liquidity, 40 plus payout countries. We now have Liquidity Hub that's really good at sourcing and managing digital assets. And as you start to combine those experiences, I think we get to that kind of really foundational internet of value experience for our customers, where this is really running at enterprise scale, bottom of the global financial system stack where, it really can be tapped into. So I think that's kind of the North Star I'm excited about for Liquidity Hub. And we're not there, we're still in the early innings, as it were, but that long-term view Ripple has is what keeps me excited to come to work every day, is incrementally making progress towards that vision.
Yeah, that's excellent. I'd like to just give you the floor if you'd like, just to leave us with anything, or definitely let people know where they can go to learn more and potentially connect and use Ripple.
Yeah, appreciate the time. Yeah, simply put, I'd say, definitely check out our website, ripple.com. You can see a lot about our product offerings, our strategy. Keep on a look for us on, other social media and whatnot. But I'd say that's the takeaway too, is I think folks can really see Ripple as, powering these enterprise use cases, and looking forward to seeing that increasingly be in some of the, products and financial services that you use, kind of really powered by Ripple under the hood. And so, yeah, stay tuned as we keep on that journey.
Well, Brad, thank you so much for your time. It was a real pleasure speaking with you, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you so much.